Hi, I'm Lucy James and I'm co-founder at Quarsh. This video series focuses on retention, which is on everyone's minds at the moment. So far, we've looked at what is influencing retention with 9 levers that you can use to improve your ability to retain the people you want. We've covered the first of those, culture, in the second video, and now we're going to look at management, which is the second lever. Management is where culture meets the workforce, and it's critical to get right. But how often are people put into a management role without ever having been trained? They're great at their functional role, and so we promote them, trusting they'll be able to create others in their own image. I run workshops with groups of chief execs and MDs, and each time I ask the question, how many of you in this room were trained on how to manage people? Somewhere between 10 and 25% raise their hands. And so I ask, and do you train your managers? And they are usually a little bit shamefaced in their reply. In terms of retention, there's that old saying, people join companies and leave managers. I'll probably say that a million times before the end of this video series. We've all heard that expression, and we've all seen examples of it in our working lives. We've probably experienced it directly. Embedding good management in a business is about creating consistent, aligned, high-touch management using a set of common practices focused on engaging staff and providing an environment where people feel safe. That last part is so important, providing an environment where people feel safe. People need to know what to expect when they come to their manager with a problem. No one likes surprises, particularly when there's difficult news to convey. So where do we start? Let's go with data. It's the beginning of everything. There are 2 core parts of this. First, a survey to find out how people are currently feeling about their leadership and their management teams, which can be overlaid against establishment lists to see where the leakiest buckets are. So we have management, we have establishment lists, and we want to see where the gaps are. The sort of comments that people leave in these surveys can be very helpful to see patterns emerging, not just about how they're being managed, but also how they'd like to be managed. Second, PDRs or PDPs, those annual or biannual reviews with employees, which we so often we look at them, we do something with them, and then we ignore them for a year. We can use them for so much more than that. We can see how people are developing, we can see what they're aiming for, we can see whether their aspirations are coming to fruition. Then we can look at what we've got. So we talked about a culture matrix in the previous video. Now we can look at a management skills matrix across the management team, covering experience, management style, known areas of excellence, and poor performance. Finally, we put in place a management review, training and mentoring program with coaching where necessary, sometimes with external coaches, to get the best out of everyone. And both managers and those being managed need to feel comfortable that the business has their best interests at heart. Remember that earlier slide from the first video, which talks about people staying when they feel valued and involved? This is where it comes into play. One model I really like is the Hersey-Blanchard SL2 leadership model, and here it is. You'll find loads of resources about this online, so I won't go into enormous detail here. For the purposes of this video, suffice it to say that employees go on a journey from when they join you to when they leave, and it tends to follow the track bottom right, top left, bottom right. For each of those 4 quadrants, a different style of management is needed, so managers often need to flex their style accordingly. What's interesting is that 70% of people who leave a business leave where in the top left quadrant, either because they haven't yet progressed to the bottom left or because they have and then slip back as they've become disillusioned. A good manager will be able to respond to their people and manage accordingly, so a different style for each of those 4 quadrants. A good way of taking this forward is to help your managers understand their own natural leadership style, which you can do with a questionnaire. Give us a ring if you'd like to use ours. Then they start to understand more about how their people might perceive them, both positively and negatively. This sort of self-awareness is incredibly empowering, but is really very often reserved for the C-suite. Here's an example. When a manager is naturally a delegator, that's bottom left quadrant, they may be uncomfortable in the early stages of their new hire's onboarding and prefer to give loads of freedom. This doesn't really help the new hire as they don't know enough to work out what to do first. The new hire might also perceive their manager as abdicating responsibility. They've kind of abandoned them. All with good intentions, but it hasn't helped the new person pick up their new job quickly. Equally, a manager who veers towards directing, that's the bottom right quadrant, as a management style can be over-controlling for experienced people who know what they're doing. Both styles can be demotivating to the wrong recipient. And as we know, people join companies and leave managers. So, time for a quick recap. Management is where culture meets the workforce and is absolutely critical to employee retention. We can find out how people feel about their managers using PDPs and employee surveys, identifying gaps and flashpoints at the same time. We can then help managers understand their natural management styles, giving them the tools they need to adjust their management style when they need to. So that's management. In the next video, we're going to be talking about the next of the 9 levers of retention, which is motivation and engagement. Thank you for watching. See you next time.